The wizarding world of Harry Potter is filled with magic and a whole lot of extremely powerful witches and wizards. And today, let's dive into that world, ranking each and every witch and wizard from weakest to strongest. So let's get to it. Coming in dead last on this list has to be Argus Filch. Sure, he's the caretaker at Hogwarts and is technically a part of this magical world, but dude's a squib. He has no magical powers, so you can't even count him as a wizard, and he's kind of the absolute worst. I mean, who enjoys torturing kids? That's just messed up. Vincent Crabbe is a pure-blood wizard and the son and possibly the grandson of Death Eaters, so he's got some nice magical heritage, but not actually a good wizard himself. In fact, while he became a dark wizard and learned some powerful spells, he accidentally used the spells to kill himself. Goyle was another one of Draco's lackeys, alongside Crabbe. While he became a dark wizard too, and even helped fight Ron, Hermione, and Harry, it's not like the guy was actually a good or competent wizard. Cho Chang was a great Quidditch player and pretty important part of the DA. She volunteered to fight against Voldemort after he killed her boyfriend Cedric and used it as a perfect opportunity to start making out with Harry Potter himself. But we're talking about actual magical ability, while she did survive the Battle of Hogwarts, but we also know she struggled with mastering a few spells during her time in the DA. This feels like an unfair place to put Hagrid. The dude is half giant and can hold his own against several wizards at once just because he's that big and that powerful. But that's just talking about his superhuman strength and durability, not his actual magical ability. But still, considering that he never graduated from Hogwarts, never actually made it past his third year, he's not a bad wizard. In fact, his magic skill is actually pretty advanced, all things considered here. Luna Lovegood was always seen as a bit of a weird kid, mostly because she was a very weird kid. But she's a pretty competent witch. She was one of the most devoted members of the DA, and she picked up a lot of skill along the way, to the point where she could stun people with non-verbal spells, and even held her own in a brief fight with Bellatrix Lestrange. Percy Weasley kinda sucks. Sure, he got redeemed in the end, but he's the only Weasley that you're actively rooting against for most of the story. But you can't deny that he's a skilled and talented wizard. In fact, the guy earned an OWL and NWET in every exam that he took at Hogwarts. Neville Longbottom was never really known for his magical skill. In fact, he spent most of his time at Hogwarts barely making it by. It was an active joke among other students and even some of the staff. But actually, a lot of this was caused by his use of another's wand, his poor self-esteem, and all the anxiety that was caused by the incessant bullying from other students and even Snape. When he finally found his courage, well, Neville's skill grew exponentially, and he even managed to take down a Horcrux during the battle at Hogwarts. You could argue that Dolores Umbridge was an even a bigger villain than Voldemort. This lady was just pure evil. But while she made her way up in the Ministry of Magic, it's pretty clear that she wasn't actually a skilled witch. She couldn't brew her own potions, she couldn't get rid of the spells made by the Weasleys or Hermione. Her really only skill in magic was more focused on offensive and defensive magic and dark magic. Ginny Weasley is nothing if not confident, and she had every reason to be. She was a very powerful witch. She had a lot of natural talent for defense against the dark arts. She could even pull off a Patronus charm when she was just 14 years old. She was probably kept back by her parents a bit too much, because even though she was young, she was a really great duelist and could hold her own in a lot of fights. Newt Scamander never really wanted to be much of a fighter. He loved magical creatures, and to be fair, you gotta be a pretty good wizard to travel around the world and explore magical creatures like he does. But when the moment came to fight, well, Newt stepped up and actually helped fight against Gellert Grindelwald on several different occasions, even being handpicked by Dumbledore to do so. Draco Malfoy is definitely a bit of a dweeb who thinks he's way better and more important than he actually is. He's Harry Potter's rival, but when push comes to shove, well, Draco was never cut out to be a Death Eater and did everything just out of fear of being killed. He was trained to fight by his Aunt Bellatrix, but was still routinely beaten by Harry and other members of the DA. Ron Weasley spent most of his life either living in the shadow of his siblings or in the shadow of Harry Potter, but he's faced countless challenges, been in plenty of different fights. The dude helped protect the Sorcerer's Stone, defeat the Basilisk, founded Dumbledore's army, he went out hunting for Horcruxes and fought in the Battle of Hogwarts, all before becoming an Auror and helping reform the Ministry of Magic. Pretty impressive. Charlie Weasley spends his time studying dragons. You know he's got to be a powerful wizard in order to do that. He also helped take place in the Battle of Hogwarts, showing off that he's got some impressive skill with combat magic too. Victor Crumb is a Quidditch prodigy, competing on our national team while he was only 18 and still in school. He was also chosen as Durmstrang's champion in the Triwizard Tournament, and performed well in all the tough challenges. Bill Weasley excelled at Hogwarts. He earned 12 OWLs in his 5th year. He went on to work for Gringotts and excelled so much that Dumbledore invited him back to teach a few classes on defense against the dark arts and counter curses. Plus, the dude married Fleur Delacour. That's gotta count for something. Peter Pettigrew is kinda the worst. He was the one who betrayed all his friends and turned them over to Voldemort, and you can never forgive him for that. It was always said that Peter was less talented than his friends, but when push comes to shove, he's actually got a surprising amount of magical skill and was quite adept in the dark arts. Cornelius Fudge was the Minister of Magic during Voldemort's rise to power, and was the one responsible for constantly trying to cover up Voldemort's rise to power. We never really saw him use that much magic, but when he did, well, he was able to show off some advanced and difficult spells. I really wanted to move the Weasley twins even higher up on the list, because while they didn't do particularly well at Hogwarts, it's clear that they're both very skilled and creative wizards. And once they got outside of school, well, we saw them definitely flex their skill and imagination at the joke shop. Arthur Weasley's greatest skill is probably with charm work, particularly being able to place charms and enchantments on Muggle items. I mean, the dude made a flying car, caused a motorcycle to spit out dragon fire. Plus, you can't forget that he was a member of both Orders of the Phoenix and was chosen to lead one of the combat teams at the Battle of Hogwarts. Aberforth Dumbledore definitely can't compare to his brother, but then again, no one can. But he still makes the Dumbledore name proud, was a talented and powerful wizard. He took place in a 3-way duel with Albus and Gellert Grindelwald when they were both kids, then fought in the Wizarding War and actually beat a few Death Eaters all by himself. Molly Weasley isn't just your typical witch. She was incredibly skilled with charms and potions. It's actually a surprisingly skilled duelist. But the greatest thing Molly had was love, and it was this love for her family that helped her single-handedly defeat Bellatrix Lestrange. Tonks was trained to become an Auror under Mad-Eye Moody, and so she was trained in all sorts of magic, became really, really good at it. In fact, she was even able to hold her own and defeat several different highly dangerous Death Eaters. Lucius Malfoy was definitely well known and respected in the wizarding world. The Malfoy name held a lot of weight, and Lucius was totally willing to throw around that power to get his way. He served as Voldemort's second in command during the First Wizarding War, so he's obviously a very powerful and experienced wizard. For being the chosen one, Harry Potter is a little bit down on this list. But you gotta remember, he's only a kid, and a lot of what he does is because he's the chosen one, or because Voldemort and the Death Eaters weren't actively trying to kill him at that moment. Still, he's proven himself to be a prodigy in several different forms of magic, and a very skilled and talented wizard. He survived plenty of encounters with Voldemort, fought countless different Death Eaters, was even out there teaching other students in defense against the dark arts. There's a reason why everyone copied off Hermione's schoolwork, because she was the best student in the school and everyone knew it. She was straight up a magical prodigy. She was practicing and perfecting spells before she even got to Hogwarts, and was skilled in every single form of magic, except for astronomy. James Potter was a bit of a troublemaker while he was at Hogwarts, but there was no doubt he was a skilled and powerful wizard. I mean, Voldemort went out of his way to ask James to join up with the Death Eaters. He only went after the most powerful and accomplished wizards. James was also known as one of the cleverest wizards of all time, to the point where even Fred and George looked up to him. Just like James, Sirius was also seen as an incredibly powerful and clever wizard. I mean, they figured out how to become animagus when they were just 5th years. That's insanely impressive. Only reason he's a bit higher than James is because James was killed so early on, and Sirius got a bit more experience under his belt. And you can say all the same about Remus too. He was very clever and got up to a lot of trouble alongside James and Sirius. But while James was killed and Sirius ended up in Azkaban, Remus was able to continue practicing and perfecting his magic, earning him the higher spot. Plus, the dude is a werewolf. That's gotta count for something. Horace Slughorn was known as one of the best potion masters to ever live. Both Dumbledore and Voldemort respected and admired his abilities. He's also a skilled and formidable duelist. He was able to hold his own very well at the Battle of Hogwarts, and even helped fight against Voldemort himself. After escaping from Azkaban, Barty Crouch Jr. was capable of deceiving every single teacher at Hogwarts, even Dumbledore, and that was all after already beating Mad-Eye Moody. Crouch was one of Voldemort's most trusted servants, to the point where Voldemort's survival literally depended upon Barty Crouch. Plus, he was also capable of completely messing with the Goblet of Fire, something that was dang near impossible unless you were a ridiculously powerful wizard. Phileas Flitwick was the charms professor at Hogwarts, so you gotta know that he was one of the best charms experts on the planet. He was also a former dueling champion, and this showed up at the Battle of Hogwarts, where he was able to beat Anton Dolohov, one of the strongest and deadliest Death Eaters out there. Kingsley Shacklebolt is one of the best and most powerful Aurors ever, to the point where even Voldemort respected him and considered him to be a powerful wizard. He was also the one chosen to lead the Order of the Phoenix after Dumbledore's death, showing off that even his fellow Order members looked up to him. Bellatrix Lestrange was Voldemort's most dedicated and loyal supporter, one of the only ones who was true to the cause no matter what. In order to become Voldemort's second in command, well, you know she's gotta be powerful. She was an extremely dangerous and deadly witch, an incredibly skilled duelist, and she got a ton of wins over a lot of other talented witches and wizards, including experienced aurors. Nicholas Flamel was definitely a weird one to rank. We don't know much about him outside of his skill of alchemy. But alchemy is one of the most difficult forms of magic in the wizarding world, and Flamel was so skilled with it, he's the only wizard able to make the Philosopher's Stone. And of course, we also saw him help reverse a spell from Grindelwald, the most powerful dark wizard up until that point in history. Here's the thing about Lily Potter. While you could argue that she deserves to be a bit lower on this list, more along James and Sirius, there are a lot of things to like about Lily. It's clear she was a bit of a prodigy at magic. Every professor had something good to say about her in their subject. She fought against Voldemort several times before ultimately being killed. But it's really the magic of her love that puts her so high up. Only the most powerful of wizards will be capable of doing what Lily did. Love is seen as the deepest and most powerful magic, and with her love, well, she was able to defeat Voldemort all by herself. No wand required. Aurelius Dumbledore, also known as Credence, is both the nephew of Albus Dumbledore and the oldest known Obscurial. Most Obscurial die as children, so the fact that he made it to adulthood shows off just how powerful he is. So between being a part of the Dumbledore family, being able to channel an Obscurious, well, Aurelius definitely has earned his place near the top of this list, even if we haven't seen a ton from him just yet. Minerva was seen by many as the most powerful witch or wizard at Hogwarts, besides Dumbledore himself, so it makes sense that after his death, she was the one who was given head mistress status. Then during the Battle of Hogwarts, well, we saw all that skill on display. She fended off plenty of Death Eaters and even held her own against Voldemort. Mad-Eye Moody might be a little crazy, but there's a reason why he's considered to be the most powerful Auror ever, to the point where it was said half the cells in Azkaban were full because of Moody. He was capable of taking on multiple Death Eaters by himself, and during his prime, well, he was one of the greatest wizards alive, and the best dark wizard hunter ever. It's definitely implied that Severus was a sort of wonder kid, coming up with new spells all by himself to improving potions made by some of the most experienced potion makers in the world. He was also regarded by Voldemort as one of, if not the greatest servant he had ever had, to the point that Voldemort chose to trust him no matter what. And as if that wasn't enough, he was also equally trusted by Dumbledore, just further showing off how powerful Snape was. One of the 4 founders of Hogwarts, Helga Hufflepuff, wanted to accept all students without preference, as long as they are loyal and hardworking. She was also one of the greatest witches of her age, was particularly skilled with charms. Another one of Hogwarts' founders, Rowena Ravenclaw, was known for her intelligence and creativity. She was also known as the most brilliant witch of her time. You kinda get a theme here, because Salazar Slytherin was a Hogwarts founder known for his cunning and determination. He was also known for his skill as a great wizard, being particularly skilled in legilimens and a Parselmouth. The last Hogwarts founder here, Godric Gryffindor, wasn't just one of the greatest wizards of his time, but was also the greatest duelist too. He's also a pretty skilled swordsman, and chose to duel muggles with his sword instead of magic. The most powerful dark wizard the world had ever seen, up until Voldemort, Gellert Grindelwald was the leader of a wizard revolution, and looked to create a new world order that would enslave all the Muggles and have the wizards in charge. Grindelwald was a master of the Elder Wand. He was one of the most feared and talented wizards ever, and Dumbledore even saw him as a near equal. We don't really know much about Merlin outside of the legends, saying that he was a member of King Arthur's court, one of the most powerful wizards who ever lived. He was also a master over ancient magic, which is one of the most powerful forms of magic to exist. Voldemort at number 2 is kinda an obvious choice, don't you think? I mean, he was regarded as the most powerful and dangerous dark wizard of all time, even more powerful than Grindelwald. He wasn't just nearly unrivaled when it came to skill and ability, but he explored the depths of dark magic further than anyone else, especially when it came to Horcruxes. And just like Voldemort was pretty obvious at number 2, we all kind of knew that Dumbledore was going to be number 1 here. It's stated by most every single witch and wizard in the series that Dumbledore is the greatest wizard of their time, and Voldemort was even terrified of Dumbledore and didn't want to fight him straight up. When they did fight, well, Dumbledore confidently held the upper hand. It's pretty obvious that Albus Dumbledore is the most powerful wizard in Harry Potter. But what do y'all think? Sound off in the comments down below. I know you're gonna have thoughts and feelings on this one for sure. If you stuck around this long and made it to the end of the video, that's amazing. Thank you so much for watching and for supporting us. And if you want to go subscribe, well, go subscribe. You're going to see more videos like this one every single week. I'll see y'all then. I'll see y'all next time.